We are only a week away from the opening day of Alton Towers. And let's just say we found out a whole load of information about how the 2024 season is going to be. From news that the skyride isn't going to be open in 2024, Hex isn't open for opening day, some Scarefest news in March, and also a brand new 3D map. Now, the biggest news from this information is the fact the skyride isn't opening from 2024, which a lot of people, in fact, including the park, probably thought this was going to be open for this season. We had the entire stations upgrade, we had sign upgrades, painting. It just seemed that this was all being done for this season, so it would be open after the full year of closure in 2023. However, that isn't the case, unfortunately, and apparently multi-million pounds are going to have to go into the skyride to get it to a point of operation. This obviously leaves the park with a big problem, being very hilly, and you have to do a lot of walking to get between roller coasters, especially for people who may struggle to walk. Even some of the fittest people, obviously with their full day at Alton Towers, it can be quite a big ask. I don't think it's really come as much as a surprise to most people that the skyride does require this much work. The reason I say that is because obviously Alton Towers for the last few years, really PC. The reason I say that, because obviously Alton Towers over the last few years has had some serious neglect from management down. We've seen this with flat rides obviously leaving the park instead of actually coming to the park and being replaced, as well as jet washing, which should be a bare minimum. Obviously, thankfully, we've had some of that this year with the likes of Galactica. But generally, the upkeep of the park has definitely took a backseat in the past few years. And obviously that's came back to bite Alton Towers, unfortunately. That is not me blaming the current management, by the way. However, obviously these things will happen if obviously past management has neglected and failed to keep up the upkeep of the park. For me, I don't really think the park expected this. Maybe there's been some kind of issue which has happened maybe in the last week. It could be as recent as the last week, or maybe even longer, where they've now discovered that there is going to have to be a significant investment if they want to keep the skyride operating at Alton Towers. Because as mentioned earlier, the painting, the signage, and the station upgrades, you wouldn't do that, I don't think, if you expect it to be open. My only concern is if the park knew about this for a couple of months and kind of put it off to try and get it over for the 2024 season, and then maybe was going to do it this winter or next winter, I suppose it would be now. Because if they have known for a couple of months that the skyride needed a significant investment, but obviously it might have been able to wait, then they should have done it as early as possible. Because even if that meant that the skyride wouldn't have been open for opening day or the opening months, it might have been open for the summer period when there's obviously going to be an influx of people that would probably need the skyride. It just, I don't know. I'm not saying they did, but it definitely is a concern if they had known and was kind of trying to put it off to get it open for the 2024 season. However, in better news, Hex has some theming upgrades. Obviously, unfortunately, Hex won't be opening for that opening day or opening week. However, it has had some theming enhancements upgrades to the ride, which is great to see. It keeps things a little bit fresh, and then obviously some new additions. You can't complain about extra theming at the end of the day. It does upgrade the overall experience that you'll get through Hex. I think it's almost like giving back to the rider as well after the issues with Hex over the last few years, and obviously only the start of the season. It being operational. I was lucky to get on there a couple of times at the start of last season. However, there's loads of people that obviously didn't get to, unfortunately, go on Hex. Another positive of the park is that Scarefest is being talked about before October and September. It's being talked about right at the start of the season with the Alton Towers Dungeon. Now, obviously, this is an upcharge, which most people don't like the fact it's an upcharge, and it's never really that busy, to be honest, because of that reason. So this is going to be closing during the summer period to undergo a redevelopment of some kind to be an attraction at Scarefest. We don't really know drastically a lot more as to what that could be, whether that would be just kind of re-scening it, or maybe an entire new experience where they do a little bit more work than just a couple of little scenes, or, you know, it could be really anything at this stage. However, it's another positive for the park. I really kind of hope it isn't an upcharge for Scarefest. I've got a feeling it will be. A bit like Daz's Games last year, I feel like that's not going to be included in the actual maze package. I think that's going to be an alternative attraction. That is my opinion. I could be wrong. But yeah, I think maybe a lot of people are probably overhyping this a little bit. But I think it's going to be a separate charge, a bit like how Daz Games was. Now, speaking of increased costs, the car parking has gone up by an extra £3. You know, paying £10 to park your car at Alton Towers. Obviously, last year it went up by £1, so obviously it was £7 last year, the year before £6, which it was for a long time. and then now it's £10. So that's an extra bit you've got to fork out as well. I know this car park will probably get some criticism. However, in the grand scheme of things worldwide, it isn't actually the most expensive car park in the world. However, I still think the hike of £3 is a little much, to be honest. I think maybe £1 might have been fair to £8, or maybe keep it the same at the end of the day, because parents or families are going to look at that and be, the extra £3, it's now a tenner you have to give away. I know it's only £3, but it does make you think a lot more, especially about if you plan to do more than one trip. Obviously that's an extra £6 for 2 trips, and then £3 slowly add up. The last thing to speak about is Alton Towers now have a brand new 3D map. They also released this little video, which is over me right now, which is pretty cool. It'd be great to see this on the app or the website or something. It's a nice little change. Mixed reviews. Some people like it, some people don't, but you can't please everybody at the end of the day. So let me know your thoughts on that. I personally like it. It's only a map at the end of the day. So it's nothing crazy. We don't have to get too excited or too angry or whatever, but it's it's a cool little addition as well. So on that note, that is the end of today's video. Let me know your thoughts on some of these changes or bits of information in the comments below. Again, make sure you subscribe and turn on the notification bell and drop a like if you did enjoy today's video as well. Are you excited for the Alton Towers season? It's definitely like a building block. We're slowly maybe getting Alton Towers back to where it is. It sort of reminds me of how Fantasy Island was before the Mellors group. It just feels like them little blocks every year to get your part back where it should be. Thank you all for watching. If you'd like to see a vlog from Alton Towers, I've got one here. It will be there for opening week, not opening weekend. So obviously we'll upload a vlog then with some of the new changes as well. Goodbye, have a good night, and I'll see you later. Cheerio.